From the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the Racers Elite Xfinity Series is ready to go road racing in the Buckeye State. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lexington, Ohio. Last week in Atlanta, Kensley Smith sealed the deal on his back-to-back checkered flag runs by dominating the field, leading 95 laps and showing everyone what a championship-caliber driver looks like. Andrew Teft and Brandon Honeycutt still lead our point standings while Kensley Smith toils in third, but that doesn't mean all is lost. We're here to battle it out in Ohio, and all I can do is invite you to tune in and not miss a second of exciting racing action. I'm Dave Regal alongside my partner in crime, Miss Emily Urias, here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, and we'd like to thank you for making SRM a part of your evening, as we'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag, right here on Sim Racing Media. And Emily, as always, it's great to be with you tonight. It's great when we get to hang out and call a race, because you know, it always feels right when one person, me, has no skill on the racetrack and I'm able to, go to you and at least be like, hey, what does this look like? Is this a mess or not? So glad to have you with me tonight, and it's going to be exciting here at Mid-Ohio.
Yes, indeed. Mid-Ohio is a fun track. Haven't raced on it myself, so don't know how much help I will be here, but I will do my best. If it's like any other road course, kind of similar.
Just getting some last-minute audio problems taken care of here in the booth. Going to take a peek at our race information as drivers now coming out to make their qualifying efforts. Of course, 67 degrees if you're in the bleachers here, and 104 degrees the track temperature as the sun has been beating on the simulated racetrack all day, so that's going to make things nice and loose here. Now, Emily, what's about that perfect temperature that you're looking for grip on a racetrack?
Normal grip we look at is between 60 and 70. Getting that good heat on the track, but also not having it too cold. You can have a nice cold track, but that also leads to more tire fall off.
Yeah, tires may be a factor tonight, especially as, we're looking at 45 laps the scheduled distance tonight here on this 2.21 mile road course in the heart of Ohio, really, as we're going to take a quick peek here at Dennis Kane running his opening qualifying lap as we get this graphic out of the way and bring that one up here as Detroit, Michigan's very own Dennis Kane gets the number 4 cranked up here. He's already completed his first qualifying lap, laid down a 1 minute 32.64, but Sean Dunaway just blasted past him and laid down a 1:30.56, and I'm assuming that we're going to see these time numbers gain ever so slightly as drivers get more heat in those tires, as you had mentioned.
Yes, heat in these tires are crucial, especially coming off the start, and when we go green, there might be some of these cars spinning out due to not having heat in those tires. It'll take a couple laps to get heat in those tires and allow these drivers to be able to run at the full speed that they want to. We saw in practice that we had a 1:28, the fastest lap so far.
Yeah, I mean, that was after several laps, of course, were laid down here on the track. As we take a peek here at Truth Hoke from Hickory, North Carolina, third right now on the timing line. Andrew Teft now out on his opening lap from Hope Valley, Rhode Island. Of course, he is the chief cook and bottle washer here in the Racers Elite League. Of course, they've got all 3 divisions of racing here in Racers Elite. What a great league to call, too, as I see Todd Slauson about halfway through his lap. He's out there in that Dale Jr. look-alike paint scheme. I can't say throwback because he's in the 22, but it's definitely a look-alike here in the Nationwide Chevrolet Camaro.
Yes, indeed. I have been in this booth before here for Racers Elite. Beautiful league, I will say. Always in and out every week. Beautiful races. I'm glad to be here with you again, like we mentioned. Glad to get this show ready to rock and roll.
Yes, ma'am. As we take a look at the Wounded Warrior Project number 30 of Sam Kohlhaas, he's about to cross the start-finish line, and he does. And Kohlhaas just lays down a 1:37.62 for his second qualifying lap. That was the best, as the first one was negated. Todd Slauson about to come across the start-finish line as well here in the double deuce. He hauls it across the start-finish line and goes 5th fastest. We're still waiting for Matt Metler, our teammate here at Sim Racing Media, to hop in the cockpit, as Lee Campbell just went 4th fastest with a 1:31.03. Just not a whole lot of drivers tonight. 13, 14, 15, 16 drivers going to be taking the green flag, assuming everybody here in qualifying does so when that green flag flies. And it's going to be a flying race, because you got to remember, we're here on a road course, so no cautions. That's a blessing in and of itself for those of us that just came off of Richmond last week. 1:29.02 for Daniel Honeycutt on his first lap. He's already gone fastest now, so we're looking to see if he can improve upon that, as Andrew Teft now gets on lap number 1 officially. Alex Teft here in the 43 Aflac Mobile, also from Hope Valley, Rhode Island. That only makes sense. If you're going to be brothers, you're going to be from the same place. As Teft hauls it out of the final turns here, going back toward the start-finish line. We're going to see how he did here on the first lap as he comes back to the flag stand. And it looks like he must have stepped off track just long enough to negate that first lap. He's going to have to try again here on lap number 2. Kensley Smith out of Tarboro, North Carolina. That's going to negate a lap. Woof. As Kensley gets all the way into the grass and does a little landscaping here.
Landscaping, indeed. Hopefully that did not do any damage to that number 15 Auto Parts Chevy Camaro. We will see if he gets a lap in, unless that was his last lap, as the 98 working on, if I am correct, their first lap.
Yep, Andrew Teft here finishing up the first lap, comes out of that final turn. And as we can see him coming through this final corner, this is kind of a series of S's, as he's going to go back toward the start-finish line, crosses the line, and that time is also negated. It actually looks like here on, literally at the very beginning of lap number 1 is when Teft went off track. We're going to see it right here. Teft got loose after coming up the hill, and the rear end just stepped around on him. He was able to recover it, but, you know, at a place like this, the question becomes, do you want to try to keep those brakes maybe a little soft, or really tighten up that front end?
Indeed, on what he said, going into those corners and braking, you can easily lock up those tires. I've done it myself before, so I'm not really a fan of road courses, but they are fun. These drivers got to be careful to not lock up those brakes. And from what I've heard in down the totem pole, shall I say, they added where if you brake really hard, you flat spot your tires. Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah, you wind up getting a flat spot in there, and it's not much of one, but you can feel it in the handling of the wheel. As Brandon Honeycutt running in 9th position right now, working his way through his second lap. Andrew Teft just finished his second lap and negated it. Oh, no, he didn't. He got a clean lap that time at 1 minute 30.33. Still waiting for Sam Kohlhaas, Brandon Sanfilippo, Matt Metler, Chris Blasi, Kirby Wainscott, and Ronnie Martin to take to the track. We're going to see if we can get a hold of some of these drivers here. See who's available for a chat. I don't see Matt Metler in here anymore, so he may have gone elsewhere. But we're going to get a hold of Alex Teft here from Chicken Coop Racing. Hey, Alex, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
So we come here to, of course, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. What's going to be your mindset coming into this race now? I mean, right now you sit in 8th. You know, is this more of a survival race, or do you have something up your sleeve for the road course?
I know for myself personally, it's going to be survival. I have not spent a lot of time on road courses in iRacing since I've been on here. Yeah, so the goal is to just keep it on the track, keep it out of the sand trap, and hopefully pass people when they decide to send it off.
Yeah, I was talking to Frank Marchese once upon a time, and we kind of had to chuckle. I'm an oval guy just like you, and I thought to myself, gee, the whole world kind of looks at us like we're kind of behind on the times. When NASCAR went to the single wheel hub, for the lug nut, the rest of the world went, yeah, we've had that for a while. When we started adding more road courses to the circuit, the rest of the world went, yeah, we've had that for a while. So coming to a place like this does make you change that discipline a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I used to be really good at these tracks in NASCAR heat, but those they do not compare at all.
No. In fact, I was actually talking with Parker, who had won the pole position on Saturday in the Xfinity series on Monday night, and he said, "Listen," he said, "it's a completely different world here on the sim." As far as trying to translate what happens in real life to now. And we were talking off air about the old NASCAR games and how much more advanced we are now.
Yeah, no, you definitely, at least every one of these tracks I've gone to so far in iRacing, you have zero rear grip. And I've always had a hard time finding the consistency in the heavy braking zones. So, obviously, it's just a practice thing, More practice I get on these, the better I'll get. But until then, it'll be a struggle.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, good luck tonight, and see maybe if you can climb up some positions here in the 43.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We're moving back down here to Chicken Coop Racing. I love the team names in this league, Emily, as we get ready to go through our starting lineup here. Daniel Honeycutt going to be on the front row. He's going to be joined on the outside pole by Kensley Smith. Sean Dunaway and Dennis Kane going to be featured in row number 2. As we are already green flag racing, the iRacing.com pace car dumped us off without any warning whatsoever. So we get going here quick. Everybody hasn't moved. Nobody's moved yet. So also in row number 3 going to be Andrew Teft and Todd Slauson. Lee Campbell and Alex Teft start 7th and 8th. Truth Hoke and Brandon Honeycutt start 9th and 10th. Chris Blasi started in 12th. Brandon Sanfilippo started in 14th. Ronnie Martin started in 16th. Sam Kohlhaas has already lost 3 positions. Matt Metler, our teammate here at Sim Racing Media, is up to 15th position already as he's in the 311 Ford Mustang. So it's already underway here as Daniel Honeycutt takes the green flag. Didn't even get to bring us to green traditionally.
No, we did not, but that is okay. Action-packed going into these turns from all these drivers. Already some action-packed racing, and at these tracks, it kind of gets slowed down once these cars get spread out. But I have a feeling we might see some, tight racing.
Yeah, and we're going to take several looks tonight, of course, at the drivers who wind up going off track. We'll take a look here at Ronnie Martin first. As Ronnie here in the 3. See, I look at the Interstate Batteries paint scheme and automatically think 18, but it's not Bobby Labonte anymore. As he just caught some grass there and dragged himself down through there. Kirby Wainscott had the same problem just a moment ago as well. We're going to run this back as I find that blimp cam. Where the heck is it? There it is. As we're going to take a peek here at what happened with Kirby Wainscott. A lot of replays are going to be in play tonight as, of course, so much is going to be happening from one end of the racetrack to the other. Wainscott comes into the same place that Ronnie Martin went, but instead of going to the inside of the turn, he took the Celsius Chevrolet and went to the outside of the turn and did some landscaping. So obviously the groundskeepers here at Mid-Ohio have some work to catch up on once the checkered flag waves here tonight. But Daniel Honeycutt all the way through 10th position. Brandon Honeycutt, as they're going to bookend the top 10, have not changed positions yet.
Not changed positions indeed, but it could happen, especially with some of these drivers coming around these turns. It depends on how hard they want to send it in that corner to be able to dive their nose down on that back quarter panel of the car in front of them to see if they can get them out of the way and try to make a pass as Honeycutt gets in the grass again.
Honeycutt bites a little bit more grass as we see the 13 here trying to work his way through the S's segment of the racetrack. And coming up in the rear is that Deuce As we look further back in the field, Sam Kohlhaas and Matt Mettler now off pace as Daniel Honeycutt sets fast time at 1:29.47. Mettler here is basically, we were talking a little bit to Alex about, is this survival? And Matt, you got to keep it between the lines as he just fishtailed down there. I haven't seen people make crooked steps like that since the last time I was at a bar. And there's Mettler killing it. He must be hitting the chicken cock whiskey tonight.
Yes, indeed. Not doing too bad, though. I've seen Mettler out on the track before. Ovals he excels at. This is my first time seeing him on a road course. He is not doing too bad, I say. He is in 15th, but being in 15th at road course can either be bad or good. As the 12 car goes off track, I feel like we're about to see that a lot here tonight.
And all in those similar corners, it's almost like it's becoming Calamity Corner as you come into the S's. Now, San Filippo, I was about to say, is our biggest mover of the race so far. He's up 3 positions from when the green flag dropped. So he's currently running in 11th position after qualifying in 14th. As Matt Mettler has now crashed, obviously the chicken cock whiskey, a little too much for him to handle altogether. Let's take a peek here at what old Matty did. He brings the 311 down and... Sir, that's not good for you. This is not a dirt track. It's all right. I still love him anyway. Daniel Honeycutt, though, starting to close in now on Mettler, as Honeycutt's now on, if this would reload itself to live. There it goes. Couldn't get the replay out of there. Daniel Honeycutt starting to close in on Mettler just a little bit here. As we can see, Mettler right now running in 16th position. It's going to be Honeycutt, Smith, Dunaway, Kane, Teft, your top 5. None of them have changed from 1 through 10. San Filippo still running in 11th position. And right now he trails Brandon Honeycutt by 4.8 seconds. But I'm starting to watch this battle box here as Honeycutt is leading San Filippo by now 5.2 seconds, and San Filippo starting to close in ever so gently there. One of our other close battles here on the racetrack is Truth Hoke, currently leading Brandon Honeycutt by about 0.4 of a second here. And it looks like Honeycutt is getting ever closer now, which that's going to mean trouble there for Truth Hoke. Is once some of these drivers find the groove that they want to be in, that's going to spell trouble for those around them. Once you get some heat in the tires, some grip on that rubber, all of a sudden you start ripping through these turns faster and faster.
Yes, sir, indeed. And with ripping through those turns faster and faster brings along another problem of tires. Now, personally, I don't know how much tire wear is at these tracks, but I figured they can be high. It just depends on how these drivers are going into those corners, how they're apexing the corners, and how much they're dive bombing those corners will really depend on who has saved the most tires to make it the furthest.
Riding along here with Alex Teft, grip is going to be a factor, and in these Xfinity cars, there's a ton of torque at the rear end. I talk about it all the time. The Xfinity cars with a non-independent suspension have one solid rear axle. So all of that torque and all of that pressure gets put on those rear tires, and it really can try to make this car step out on you, as we just saw with Matt Mettler, who is now past Kirby Wainscott, running at 15th now. That's going to be the secret to a lot of these drivers navigating through these turns and getting around this 2.2-mile racetrack.
Yes, like you said, 2.21-mile racetrack. I also just noticed, I don't know why it took me 5 laps to notice, there's 2 Honeycutts.
There's a pair of Honeycutts, there's a pair of Tefts.
Oh, there's a pair of... Oh, I think I need to get my glasses checked.
But there's only one Kensley Smith who went back-to-back. Of course, as I had mentioned during our show open, Kensley, of course, winning last week at Atlanta, and then the week before, Kensley Smith picked up the win at Las Vegas. So, oddly enough, in this league, obviously, the wins aren't near as let's just say, I don't want to say important, but they don't hold as much weight as in some other leagues, because I mean, with a pair of wins on the season, Kensley Smith has more wins than anybody and still sits third in our point standings. Now, Kensley climbed up 2 positions last week, a couple the week before, but you know, Sean Dunaway still our big mover, finishing second last week, but climbing up 5 positions in the point standings. Andrew Teft leads the points right now with 195 total points. Brandon Honeycutt with 187. Kensley Smith at 183. So just 4 points, 4 raw points, that is, behind Honeycutt. Of course, bonus points are going to come into that. And if you look on the on simracerhub.com, you can search up the Racers Elite League, and all 4 divisions are in there. But if you look, thanks to bonus points, Kensley Smith would technically, if you combined all of those points, would be tied with Brandon Honeycutt. Brandon Honeycutt has no bonus points and leads Kensley Smith 187, 183, but those bonus points would make it 187 apiece. So, in theory, Kensley Smith and Brandon Honeycutt are tied atop the pot in second position.
At the 15 of Kensley Smith. Interesting. Working in some battling actually in front of Kensley Smith, possibly. As Matt Metler off the track again. Love you, Matt. But I feel Dunaway and Kane battling out there. Four car of Kane working on the one for third position. Looks to be one of our battles out here on the track currently. Will Kane get past Dunaway? We will see. Kind of gaining, but also losing. So I'm curious to see if Kane can maybe drive it down hard in a corner and try to get some momentum as well as some time on Dunaway. Ooh! Get close.
All of a sudden, the 10 goes to dance around in there. Of course, that's Wayne Scott, Kirby Wayne Scott, being put a lap down. This battle here between Kane and Dunaway really starting to heat up, and it's being affected now by, of course, the lap car of Kirby Wayne Scott in the 10.
Yes.
Taking a look.
As the 4-car gets past lap car Matt Metler, closing in on the 0-1 of Dunaway. Closing in and kind of getting a gap at the same time. Do you think they might be able to get past Dunaway soon?
He's going to have to. He's going to find a way to get around there. We're going to take a look right here at the battle box as Dennis Kane trails Sean Dunaway now by about half a second. We can start seeing as we ride along here on the nose of Dennis Kane, he's looking for a way around Sean Dunaway, and he's trying to take these turns a little bit more to the inside. The problem is you have to woe the car up more to get on the inside of a driver. So he may actually do better if he knows that he's got the faster car to try to go up there, match every step that Sean Dunaway is taking, and then eventually Dunaway's got to make a mistake. Now, we just saw that gap shrink down to a little less than 0.4 of a second. It bounces right back up to almost 0.6 of a second. So Dennis Kane knows that he's got a quicker car and that he's got that ability. Now it's a matter of matching step for step Sean Dunaway and waiting for Dunaway to make a mistake.
Yes, indeed. Making mistakes is what Kane currently wants Dunaway to do so he can get past them. I don't know. It's kind of a hit or miss, I feel. Dunaway's faster in certain corners than Kane's faster in other corners, and so are vice versa, if that makes sense. I feel like it evens out where they might not be able to pass each other.
You see that a lot here, but now all of a sudden the lower portion here of the top 10 is starting to make a little bit of hay as Lee Campbell has now gotten around Lee Campbell and Alex Teft have both gotten around Todd Slauson, as Slauson right now running in 8th position was passed twice now by Lee Campbell and Alex Teft. Truth Hoke still running in 9th. Brandon Honeycutt still running in 10th. Brandon Sanfilippo still in 11th. So a couple of these drivers. And, of course, as soon as we looked away, Dennis Kane passed Sean Dunaway. Let's take a peek here and see how they pulled this one off. We can see Dennis Kane closing in on Sean Dunaway. And just like I had mentioned a moment ago, they were trying to match one another step for step. And here it comes. Dennis Kane just gets the run because Dunaway takes that turn a little too wide. And Dennis Kane able to make the pass and now starts to step away from Dunaway, as now he's opened that up to about a full second here in real time. We'll take a peek. As we can see, as I just mentioned, now 0.6 of a second. So he's gaining on him ever so gently, 3/4, 8/10 now. So that's obviously starting to develop itself into something pretty cool there. Then, of course, Todd Slauson still behind Truth Hoke by about 0.8 of a second here on lap number 10 of 45. We've already marched off almost a third of this race. Daniel Honeycutt leads the way, though. That's kind of the story right now, by 6.67 seconds over Kensley Smith. Now 6.8 seconds over Kensley Smith. And then from Kensley Smith back to Dennis Kane, it's another 6.6 seconds. So right now, as long as nobody makes a mistake up here in the front, you can throw a blanket over Daniel Honeycutt and Kensley Smith.
Yes, a blanket indeed. And with Kane now being out of the dirty air of Dunaway, it'll allow them to be able to get more speed, be able to run those corners how he wants to run those corners without having to worry about, hey, I have a car in front of me. What do I need to do to get them out from in front of me so I can just run my line, make my time, and make it up to get into the lead. As a little wiggle from Honeycutt. Ooh.
Matt Metler here looks like there it comes. He's going to lock up that front left. And pirouette, that's a little premature.
One way to do it. One way to do it.
I'd say that's a premature donut from Matt Metler. I hate to poke fun at him because I've got to sit next to him for 3.5 hours on Sunday night, but that one kind of warrants at least a little bit of a report, as Daniel Honeycutt has now opened his lead over Kensley Smith by 8.5 seconds. 13 seconds back to Dennis Kane, 15 seconds back to Sean Dunaway. Things are starting to go all in his favor as we move through. As I'm looking at timing and scoring, almost every interval is marked in white, which means nothing really hot and heavy here on the racetrack. Here on lap number 11, 35 to go now here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
35 to go indeed. But don't look now. Dunaway is still 2 seconds off of Kane. So there might be a chance where Dunaway might be able to run a better line than Kane and catch up, and we might see some battling later from those two as well. Kane might possibly be catching up to Smith. I'm looking at time and scoring, and they're about running the same time, but I'm pretty sure Kane is running a little bit faster laps, making those times up, like I said before, which allows him to be able to run his line right there, which honestly, that's how I feel when I'm running road courses is, I don't want anybody in front of me. I just want to look at the line, be able to run it without worrying about spinning out.
To your point, here on lap number 11, Dennis Kane is running about 0.6 of a second faster than Sean Dunaway. In fact, since lap number 9, he's been running faster than Dunaway after lap 9 was by 1.2 seconds. It almost seems like, Dunaway just simply started slowing down after lap number 8. I mean, he was beating Kane time-wise, by, no less than 0.007 of a second, and then all of a sudden just started to give up that time, and it's been getting progressively worse as we move through this field. And we see a couple of these other close-ish battles, if you will. I'm guessing that this is where we're going to see some of those tires falling off for those drivers that aren't as good with saving tires because, of course, we just saw a minute ago that Sean Dunaway had started to see tire fall off around lap 8, which is what allowed Dennis Kane to get through. And then we take a peek back here at Brandon Honeycutt. and Truth Hoke. And Truth Hoke at one point was running a faster lap than Honeycutt and now running slower. So, as Honeycutt got around Truth Hoke, now we're starting to see some of that tire wear come into to be a factor. And, it is what it is, for lack of a better term. You can't control that, especially here on a road course. It's not like, oh, let me run a higher line here and try to cool the tires off. You're SOL if you think that you're going to just cool the tires off, unless you're somebody like Daniel Honeycutt, who's got a crazy gap on everybody else.
Crazy gap indeed. Running 7 seconds. It is going down, though. I will say that gap is going down. Is Honeycutt pitting?
Daniel Honeycutt, I don't see him pitting.
Interesting.
But
I've just noticed
the gap is starting to narrow ever so slightly as Kensley Smith. We may have a connection issue. We're in the middle of vicious thunderstorms here on the East Coast. But Daniel Honeycutt right now running just 0.6 of a second. Now running 0.6 of a second, slower than Kensley Smith, which is something that we haven't seen all day.
Ooh.
Oh, Daniel Honeycutt just spins off track. My God.
And we watched that live here, folks. About to get a possible replay. Can he get back on the track? Allows.
Here it comes. We see Daniel Honeycutt. We see Daniel Honeycutt here in the 72. Just step it all the way around, and it's almost exactly what I was talking about the torque in the rear of these cars. And I mean, he's the only Toyota in the field tonight here in his Supra, and just absolutely bought it. And now that allows Kensley Smith to take your race lead. Kensley Smith, as you remember, we were just talking about, was leading Dennis Kane by a healthy margin, and now has Dennis Kane 6.7 seconds back, and Kane now starting to slow up as Kane was starting to gain on Kensley Smith, and Smith obviously was able to capitalize on that situation. Taking a look elsewhere in the world of sports, of course, here we are in week number 2 of the Major League Baseball season. The Orioles are trailing the Royals in the top of the 8th inning right now, 3-0 in Baltimore. The Phillies and the Reds just getting underway in South Philadelphia. The Nationals lead the Pirates at the end of the 5th, 4-2, while the Rockies and Cubs have no score in the bottom of the 1st. Of course, later tonight we're going to have Blue Jays-Astros action from Houston, the Dodgers hosting the Giants, and some NL West action at 10:10 Eastern. So a busy day in Major League Baseball, as it should be in April, as we have had nothing but rain here in Philadelphia for the last 3 days, and it's starting to feel like that Sheryl Crow song, I ain't seen the sunshine in 3 damn days.
Hey, I do not want to hear about it. I have got snow the past 2 days. Snow in April.
There's an easy way to fix the snow problem. There's no way to try to fix
the
rain problem.
I'd rather honestly have rain over snow. Snow is just a slushy mess.
Brandon Honeycutt now having to battle it out with Todd Slauson in the double deuce. Slauson holding Honeycutt off. Now, a little while ago we saw that gap widen itself, but Brandon Honeycutt starting to narrow that gap ever so slightly behind Slauson as we pull up their time delta. There it is. Ooh. And we can see a gradual shortening of time, that is, between Honeycutt and Slauson. Now, Honeycutt about a half second made the most hay on lap number 10 at 1.167 seconds faster to narrow this gap, which is now 4.97 seconds. You don't think that that's a whole lot, but in the grand scheme of things, however, you wind up sitting there going, oh, as long as I stay where I'm at and focus on my race that I'm running, I'll be just fine. As we take a peek here at what just happened with Chris Blasi, back on lap number 12, just in here to the booth, we see the number 11 filter time Chevrolet Camaro coming down, and here it goes. There's the rear end around, almost exactly where Daniel Honeycutt lost it. Brings it back on. He didn't go as far off as Daniel Honeycutt did, but still off track nonetheless.
Indeed, as Daniel Honeycutt making some moves up back into fourth, almost catching Dunaway.
As we're watching this battle right now suddenly heat up, Emily, as we're at 0.3 of a second between Slauson and Honeycutt, Brandon Honeycutt, that is. It's hard to keep some of them together. But Brandon Honeycutt getting a good run at the 22. It's starting to get a little interesting here as the 22 starting to feel the pressure put on by Brandon Honeycutt.
Pressure indeed. 13 car of Honeycutt working on trying to go down low. Ooh. Hits the quarter panel of the 22 of Slauson. But that does cost heavily, making Slauson be able to pull away from Honeycutt.
Slauson here now getting a better lead over Honeycutt, about 0.3 of a second, as we're still peaking here at Dunaway and Kane, who aren't done yet.
What? Ooh.
Here it is, as there's a nudge from Brandon Honeycutt on the rear of Todd Slauson, and that moves Slauson out of the way. That opens the door here for Brandon Honeycutt to take over 7th position. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I see a lot of movement here. Sean Dunaway and Daniel Honeycutt are fighting one another. It looks like Daniel Honeycutt just stepped out of line. I'm trying to find our blimp pilot here, as Daniel Honeycutt just went off track. Now watch the 72 right here in the middle of your screen. He's going to come in here pretty hot. You can almost get a feel for how much momentum he's carrying in here. And as Daniel Honeycutt steps off a track, that opens the door for the 01 and the 98 to go on past, as Dunaway and Teft now take over 2nd and 3rd position. And then, of course, Daniel Honeycutt comes back on track and continues his campaign. He's going to have a lot of recovery to go through, as now Kensley Smith steps off track. We'll take a quick peek at this. This is what I was talking about just a moment ago, where Kensley Smith, here we are minding our own business, and somehow Kensley Smith, even your race leader, can be vulnerable to a mistake, as Smith just does a little bit of light yard work here, but nothing crazy, here in the number 15 Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet Camaro.
Yes, indeed, as we did have a taker coming down pit road lap 16, Dennis Kane, which was in about 4th position, coming down, possibly got full tank of fuel. Looks like got a full tank of Sunoco Racing fuel and tires coming down pit road, so actually still in pit road? No. Yes, it looks like 4 stickers and a tank of Go Fast. Words are hard right now. Anyways, on that number 4 racing Ford Mustang GT, he will be the fastest car out on the track now, but he has a lot to make up. He is 31 seconds behind Smith. So
teammate Matt Metler down, running in 14th position, sitting on pit road. I'm going to see if I can find him here in our live chat. Maybe I can get a moment with the young man. And nope, of course not. He's hiding. We'll have words about that later. As Kensley Smith now leads Sean Dunaway by 6.2 seconds. A close battle here with Daniel Honeycutt now and Andrew Teft, as Daniel Honeycutt on his recovery drive trying to climb back up into 3rd position. Of course, Daniel Honeycutt was our pole sitter earlier on this evening and would really like to be there on the top step of that podium, but unfortunately that may be too little too late, as we're here on lap number 19, just approaching 26 to go.
Yes, indeed. I'm expecting wholesale pit stops from a lot of these drivers here shortly. They can only go a certain amount on this tank of fuel, and showing that one already came down pit road, being the 4 of Kane. I'm expecting these drivers to be able to come down pit road soon.
Peeking here at Todd Slauson and Daniel Honeycutt, Brandon Honeycutt, I'm sorry. Still about 4/10 of a second separating these two drivers as we go right to the nose of Slauson. And we see Slauson trying to stalk him down the back chute here. Here's one of the hard things about this racetrack, and I think it's something that becomes understated because we've seen so many folks, fall victim to Calamity Corner. You're coming downhill at that point, and there's a whole lot of momentum that's shifting while you're on a straightaway. So you're trying to get the car woed down as we're going to work our way around the 11 of Chris Blasi. But, where we stand, you've got a lot of momentum, a lot of weight, and a lot of speed all coming downhill with a turn in front of you at the same time that you're trying to calculate for the uphill opposite side turn in the very next moment. So there's a whole lot of input that your car is trying to take, as we can see the Goodyear blimp there in the upper right-hand corner of the screen for just a moment. So there's a lot of physics that come into play there and can really wreak havoc on that car.
Yes, indeed. And what these drivers, I do know a little bit about road course is, and kind of goes on with oval tracks as well, is arcing those corners, making that turn as smooth as possible to be able to get the best outcome coming out of those turns. And even going into it is how you want to be able to enter and exit, as the 4 car of Kane spins around, gets it back rolling up again.
And it was just about the same way that I had described it. Now take us through this as we're going to start here atop the hill. This is exactly what I was talking about, Em.
Yes, indeed. This corner seems to be the turn that a lot of these drivers are just not taking an effect that, hey, might just need to be a little bit slower going on this turn so I don't spin out, but also on that thin line of I'm going to spin out, I'm not going to spin out type of deal. Ooh. Yes, indeed, as we do have a couple cars working together. There was 3 cars that was close to together on the track, which is the closest battle currently as Hope comes down pit road. Wonder if he's going to get a full tank of Sunoco fuel and 4 stickers on that Chevy Camaro.
Here he goes. We're about to find out. Yep, there it is. The right side pops up. Once it drops down, we're going to see the left side pop up.
Yes, indeed. And while he's getting tires, he's also getting a full tank of Sunoco Racing fuel. Off he goes. Full set of tires. And I wonder if Kane will be able to catch the leaders now. I feel like Kane will cycle out as a leader once all these drivers decide to come down pit road.
Well, as we're working lap number 21 of 45, a lot of these drivers are now looking at this as a one-stop race. He came in a little early. Brandon Sanfilippo might have just bought the big one here. As, of course, the cold tire brigade is always out. Here he comes down into Calamity Corner and just absolutely smokes it. And that's not the correct direction to be racing on.
No, indeed. You want to be racing in the correct racing line. Kind of scary seeing a driver around. I know personally, there's been times where, you don't want to be in that moment when you're turned around. As
we look once again elsewhere into the world of sports, some final scores for Major League Baseball. The Angels beat the Marlins 10-2. The Brewers fall to the Twins at home today. of course, before the great Bob Uecker, 90 years old in the broadcast booth. And Bob Uecker still sounds just as youthful today as he did 35 years ago in the movie Major League when he played Harry Doyle. And I'll tell you what, this is a magical time of year with baseball finally coming back, and it gives us hope that warm weather is on the way, a little less snow, a little more sun, as the Tampa Bay Rays fall to the Texas Rangers 4-1 in Tampa. The Red Sox beat the A's in Oakland 1-0. I'm not sure if they're still boycotting the A's right now, as the Yankees and Diamondbacks were in a tight one for 11 innings as the Yankees come away the victor 6-5. The Cleveland Guardians beat the Seattle Mariners. They blanked them 8-0, 11 hits for the Guardians, 5 for the Mariners. As final score here in the Cardinals-Padres game, Padres best the Cardinals at Petco Park 3-2 out there in San Diego. Of course, a couple of postponed games. Where is that coming? I hear audio coming from somewhere. A couple of postponed games today. The White Sox and the Braves on the south side of Chicago, and up in Flushing, New York, the Mets and Tigers also going to have to be postponed, as there's just been nothing but nasty rain here from the Midwest all the way through the Northeast.
Yes, indeed. Talking about nasty weather, it is spread out between Midwest to where you are currently, Dave. Pretty bad snowstorm that developed. It's bad enough to drop snow in my area, thunderstorms where you are. Not liking what April's bringing, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a rough first couple of days of April. And speaking of the thunderstorms, I wasn't even ready for it. I was standing here in the living room getting ready for this show tonight, and I heard thunder, and we even had a power blip. It's why I'm kind of curious if we make it through all the way. Right now, the Philadelphia Phillies finally getting out of their rain delay, hosting the Cincinnati Reds in South Philadelphia. Everybody pretty bundled up there in the stands. No thank you, as it's nice and toasty here inside the house. Seems like a better option, as Kensley Smith takes the better option and decides here on lap number 23 to haul it down pit road. That is all but exactly halfway here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. I'm Dave Riegel. She's Emily Arias. We'll be right back after we pay some bills here on Sim Racing Media.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome back to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course as Kensley Smith leads the Racers Elite Xfinity Series here tonight with now 20 to go on lap number 26. Kensley Smith leads Daniel Honeycutt by almost 4 seconds here, and right now third position belongs to Andrew Teft, 7 seconds behind Smith. So you can pretty much throw a blanket over these top 3 barring any kind of, let's just say, catastrophe, if you will. One of the closer battles, though, in tonight's race is Dennis Kane and Todd Slauson. They've been exchanging blows left and right all night long. Brandon Sanfilippo has now climbed up here into the top 10 after toiling in 11th position for so long. Brandon Honeycutt, Chris Blasi, Sam Kohlhaas, Matt Mettler, Ronnie Martin, and Kirby Wainscott all down laps, as it looks like Wainscott, Mettler, and Martin have all decided to put it on the hauler, as it may just be the perfect time for that, Emily.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, they do have a provisional that they can use for one race, if I am correct, out of the season. And I think I saw some chatter that a couple of drivers were going to use it for this track. I'm not going to confirm anything, but that's what I heard.
Absolutely. We want to take a quick peek here at our YouTube.com live chat and encourage everybody to tune in. Of course, not too many folks tonight. Gator Trooper saying hi. Thomas S. saying nobody likes road courses. I would have already been off the track 25 times. Thomas, listen, I'm with you. There were more nights than not where I would just suddenly, my computer wouldn't fire. I don't know what's wrong. Back during my driving days, road courses were absolutely at the bottom of my my barrel, so to speak, as Kensley Smith here in the 15 looks to make it 3 in a row. Now, Kensley Smith, of course, won at Vegas and Atlanta last week, so now here in the Xfinity car trying to make it 3 in a row, do the old hat trick here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
Yes, indeed. As battling between Kane and Slauson, just saw Kane move up into 7th place, making some moves. Will Kane catch Teft?
Taking a look at our race conditions, the track has now cooled off 3 degrees to 101. On an oval, that would be just about the witching hour. That's almost the perfect amount of slip and the perfect amount of grip, at 101. Of course, the ambient air temperature has gone up a degree since we went live here on the air, so still comfy there in the stands if you're watching live and in person. But right now, Kensley Smith controlling this race with relative ease, now 4 seconds ahead of Daniel Honeycutt. So Tarboro, North Carolina has a lot to be proud of, as it looks like Truth Hoke maybe not so much to be proud of, as we take a quick peek here and see what happened as Truth Hoke looks to have stepped off track once again. We see Hoke here hauling it down that straightaway, and of course, once we get here on the uphill, there's a whole lot. Oh, there it is. And we're going to try to see here from the front, as we did have a drone nearby, if I can find it here. I want you to see the amount of energy that transfers here as Truth Hook was coming uphill that time. Watch that front splitter right under where it says Camaro and where the grill is. Coming uphill, Truth Hook has to really get on the brakes, and we're going to see that whole car yaw forward. And as it pitches forward, that's when the front end bounces and sends Truth into the sand.
Yes, indeed, into the sand as we're working on 17 to go. Smith is still your race leader, following Honeycutt along with Teft afterwards. Now, that's a huge gap between Dunaway and Teft, I see. I don't know if they'll be able to make it up unless Dunaway drops a gear and starts moving and catching up. That's a huge gap to make up.
The gaps here on the racetrack starting to get ever wider, with the exception of Dennis Kane, who's now trailing Alex Teft by just 7/10 of a second, nearly 3/4 of a second, as we work with 17 to go here on lap number 30 as we come around. So, listen, there's still time left in this race, but right now, side by side goes Alex Teft and Dennis Kane as we look on from the blimp. They just went side by side. Now the question is, how soon will it be again before they're able to start exchanging blows here on the racetrack? Here he comes. There's Dennis Kane getting around Alex Teft. He just whipped it through there. Let's take a look here one more time. Now watch Dennis Kane set himself up to the inside of this turn. Teft goes to defend, and almost like a deke, we're suddenly going to see Kane throw it here to the inside of the next turn and just pass Alex Teft as if it was just that easy. That was a work of art, if I do say so myself. It was literally a Runsky feint to get around him. Alex Teft now trailing Dennis Kane by about 9/10 of a second as Chris Blasi steps off track yet again. Sam Kohlhaas, the same thing. We'll take a look and see. I don't know why the drone cam keeps trying to follow there. That'll be better. As a little wiggle comes from the 11 of Chris Blasi, he steps off track and, of course, hauls it back on. Sam Kohlhaas the same way just a moment before. As we see once again Kohlhaas in the 30 coming down through the front straightaway, just locks up that right front. It causes him to wind up going straight, and then he has to corral that thing back in before he can start moving forward again.
Yes, indeed. As slow on the racetrack he still is, trying to get back up to speed. As Honeycutt is starting to catch up to Smith. 2-second gap, kind of closing it down with Teft at a 5-second gap from the race leader with 15 to go. We might see some battling between first and second.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick peek here at the lap times and see if Honeycutt's been consistent, and he has. As lap 27, he was a 1/4 second faster than Kensley Smith, then 8/10 of a second faster on 29, and almost a full second on 30. The only lap that really kind of screwed him over was lap number 28, where he was 3/10 slower, but obviously still able to keep it here between the navigational beacons as he's now closed the gap to 1.64 seconds here on lap number 32.
Lap 32 indeed closing Honeycutt is, but there's also people in the back of the pack kind of getting close, but it's still between a 2-second gap between Kane and the other Teft in 6th and 7th, so possibly in about maybe 10 laps we might see him battling between those
Smith
two.
gets loose.
Ooh. And that will allow Honeycutt to catch up. Now 1.3 seconds gap.
We're going to run that back there and watch Kensley Smith on turn exit. The rear end just starts to step around, but he's able to corral that thing back in and keep moving forward. That was kind of close especially when you've already got a narrow gap between yourself and Honeycutt running in P2.
Yes, indeed. And with that pressure on Smith, that's what we kind of saw with Kane passing Dunaway. Was Dunaway got pressured into moving and not allowing Kane to get past, which allowed Dunaway to make a mistake. And I believe Honeycutt's going to do their best to put pressure on Smith and say, hey, I'm here, once they catch up to them. Like right there, Smith gets loose. Even Honeycutt gets loose out that turn.
Yeah, that's definitely not the way that you want to be able to, try to have to force yourself to navigate around here. It's definitely the hard way to do it, if I do say so myself.
Yes, definitely hard indeed. Being pressured at these tracks is something like playing mind games. Playing mind games at road courses can A, go good, or B, go bad. One, you could end up spinning yourself out, or you can end up spinning out the person in front of you, just by being on their bumper. As Smith is actually starting to pull away. I wonder if Honeycutt's starting to get loose, maybe? I don't know. But, still a 2-second gap between those two. Watch out, Teft, about 4.5 seconds behind Honeycutt. About 2 seconds between Teft and Honeycutt right there. We might have a possible 3-way battle for first coming down to the final length in about 10 laps. We will see. Might happen, might not. Depends on how these drivers are running, but
yeah,
Honeycutt
these drivers
is
right
moving.
now, the way that these drivers are lined up right now, Andrew Teft here in the 98, he's got to be thinking to himself, I've got a little extra, but he's got to save it to try to get up here to Kensley Smith and Daniel Honeycutt. Right now, only 4 seconds separating between Teft and Smith. And a minute ago, a few minutes ago, it was 4 seconds between 1 and 2. So now to have that gap narrowed down to now less than 3 seconds, I think we're definitely going to see a fight break out between Honeycutt and Teft. The question is Teft able to use that momentum and climb up there to Kensley Smith?
So you have I have a feeling Teft can make it happen. I have no doubt about it. These drivers are fast. As Honeycutt, like I mentioned, Honeycutt is now under second and pushing well under second, working on catching up to Smith. So we're about to see battling for first place here shortly, and we still got 12 laps to go.
Yeah, 12 laps to go. We're going to take a look right here from the nose of Daniel Honeycutt as we get one quick chance here to see exactly what 1.02 seconds looks like. And, you think to yourself, that seems like a short amount of time, but look at the distance that Daniel Honeycutt has to be able to cover. And right now, Kensley Smith is just in his own little world up here, barely even focusing on Brandon Sanfilippo, who's just ahead of him in the 12 machine to be put a lap down. We once again can see the Goodyear blimp there now on the left side of your screen as it orbits above us here at the Mid-Ohio road course, sports car course. My goodness, I'll get it all out eventually. As Daniel Honeycutt now closes that gap to a half second. Alex Teft, meanwhile, back in 7th position, just going off track. We'll take a peek here and see what happened. As Hope Valley, Rhode Island's very own Alex Teft, of course, we spoke with him before the race, just came in there and watched, there it is, once again at Calamity Corner, just having that axle lock itself up and spin around. Daniel Honeycutt now 0.4 of a second has really closed the gap here. I'm starting to get a little excited to see whether or not this is going to break out into an all-out war or if Kensley Smith's going to back off and allow Honeycutt on by. Andrew Teft watching the two of these drivers preparing to go at it, kind of like a lion waiting for the zebra to take a break here, as Teft is trying to wait for somebody, make contact, have a mistake, do something bad, and allow him to close that gap, which is now a 1.5 second time.
Yes, indeed. And like you mentioned, Teft is just going to probably hang back and or push it into running for 3-car battle for first place. But in this position, if I were Teft right here, I would wait for either one to turn one or both of them to spin out and take this win home. So definitely going to be interesting to see what happens here, as honestly, this is something close I haven't seen in a while here at these road courses, is the top 3 battling it out like this.
Yeah, Daniel Honeycutt now closing to less than 0.4 of a second as they come down the front stretch across the start-finish line as they make their way through the first round of turns here and onto that straightaway. We're heading toward Calamity Corners. We're getting ready to go downhill, and that's going to be an issue. Here it comes as Honeycutt closes into nearly a bumper's width away, has to back off and abort as he just got way too close to Smith and had no place to go.
No place to go indeed. Came in hot coming into that corner, which allowed him to have to run high and make/lose time going through that turn. But making up time going through that turn right there, as a little wiggle from Smith right on the bumper, as Teft is seriously just sitting back and watching and relaxing while watching these two battle it out and hoping that
side by side they go as they head up over the hill and down through this, a bobble from the 72. All of a sudden, as we were just talking about it, we've got a 3-way battle for the lead. These guys aren't trying to save anything for 5 to go. They're doing it now here with 10 to go.
10 to go indeed, as 72 of Honeycutt goes off the track. Comes back on. That will be a penalty for that number 72 for cutting the track. Will it affect him? No, it will not, as 72 is battling the 15 up there, as 98 of Teft is just watching this in enjoyment of what's happening here. But Teft might be getting in on the action right here.
Yeah, all of a sudden they were door handle to door handle, and now Honeycutt backs off once again. It's almost like he can get himself alongside of Smith, but completing the pass is the difficult part, as this time he forces Smith to the high side and basically just says, this is mine now, as Daniel Honeycutt takes, contact between the 98 and the 15, as Andrew Teft is trying to claw his way past Kensley Smith. He can see the promised land ahead of him, as Daniel Honeycutt currently running himself in the lead. Our new race leader is Daniel Honeycutt. He was our pole sitter earlier on. Kensley Smith running in P2. And Andrew Teft now making the pass on Kensley Smith for P2, as he's going to try to run away. But, he gets a little too full of himself, winds up stepping off track, and here he goes running in third. Yes, indeed, running in third. New leader Honeycutt, like you mentioned. I still see some action and fighting from Teft here. It's only a second, as, like I said, fighting will happen. These drivers are going to be racing hard, especially with under 10 to go. These drivers are going to be pushing these cars to the max. Not even saving tires is what we've seen. So, as Teft pushes it in, you can even see that car just leaning in on that fine line of loose to spinning out. Riding along now here on the roof of the 98, as you were just saying, he's trying to push his way in here alongside the 15 of Kensley Smith. He does, and we can see right here as we spin that camera around, he just blew the doors right off of Kensley Smith. I think Kensley Smith may have gone too hard too early and winds up running in third position now, 14 seconds ahead of Sean Dunaway. Yes, 13 seconds. This is your battle out on the racetrack currently. But don't look now for 5th and 6th. Kane and Campbell is your next two drivers following. Oh, actually, we have a couple field drivers that are close to each other in standings, as Kane passes Campbell for 5th place.
basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second spot, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around, we're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force it off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom. Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
No back into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Dave Regal and Emily Arias here in the Sim Racing Media broadcast booth as we've got 5 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. And Emily, we've seen some incredible racing. We've seen a lot of competition here over the last few laps. We had to step away and take a breather because it was just that intense. As right now, closest battle on the racetrack is between Todd Slauson and Alex Teft, 0.6 of a second separating these two drivers, as it looks like the top 3 have settled themselves down, so to speak, as 2.3 seconds separates Andrew Teft from Daniel Honeycutt, and then another 10 seconds separates between Teft and Kensley Smith. So right now, keeping an eye here on Todd Slauson and Truth Hoke, as well as Alex Teft at the 43. Teft trying to hold off Todd Slauson in the double deuce.
Yes, indeed, as Kensley Smith looks to be fallen off tire-wise. Now 12 seconds behind Honeycutt, the leader, with Dunaway 19-20, under 20 seconds. So still gaining. Semi-gaining. I do see the time going down, but with 4 to go, I have a feeling Dunaway's not going to be able to catch up. But still a lot of battle in here between 11, 43, 59, 22. A lot of cars just right here in this bunch. Some of them a lap down, some of them not. As 22 car and 43 car. Whew. A lot of battle in here. We have a 5-car battle here. Wow.
There it is as the blimp cam operator was a little confused. Truth Hoke and Brandon Sanfilippo getting nearer and nearer to one another, as this is for position, 9th position that is, so that's going to include some bonus pointage, if you will. Of course, Brandon Honeycutt just a little bit further back from that, so right now a 3-way battle for 9th position, still a 3-way battle for the lead just in case something crazy breaks out. But right now here in the lap down cars, wow, look at Brandon Sanfilippo chasing down Todd Slauson, as although that they're on 2 different laps, Slauson can really affect Sanfilippo's race if Truth Hoke is allowed to get in here and fight, as Slauson just drops on down to pit road.
Slauson drops down to pit road. Unsure why. Maybe we can get with him after the race, but now everybody's kind of spread out. Honeycutt's about almost a 10-second lead on Teft. Smith is going to be 12 seconds. Dunaway is still 20 seconds. Kane, 35. Campbell's in 6. 7, Teft. Other Teft, shall I say. 8 cars on the lead lap currently. Probably going to go down to 7, I think. Slauson is in pit, so it will definitely go down to 7.
As Daniel Honeycutt passes the start-finish line, the popsicle sticks go in the air. We're 2 laps to go. It happened just that quickly, as already we've only been here for an hour racing, and already this race is starting to hit twilight, as there's 8.3 seconds between Honeycutt and Teft, and then, of course, another 5 seconds back to Smith. We can throw a blanket over those drivers. Everything's finally starting to settle itself down. Brandon Sanfilippo, Truth Hoke, and Brandon Honeycutt, although they are battling for position back there, 9th, 10th, and 11th, it seems like these drivers are all settling in for a nice winter's nap, if you will, as Daniel Honeycutt rolls out of here about a half lap away from the white flag.
Half lap indeed from the white flag. Honeycutt is going to do their best to be able to get that car across that start-finish line, as looks to be a little loose is what I'm seeing from that car. Will that affect this last lap? We will see, as Heft is semi-catching up, under 7 seconds from Honeycutt, with Smith going to be 6 seconds, so not too bad, as Dunaway is actually starting to gain on Smith. 17 seconds, so about a 6-second gap between 3rd and 4th, and white flag will be coming by around... Now is the white flag. Honeycutt takes the white flag, and racing back to checkers indeed, with battling between, battling between the 13 and the 59 of Hoke. Still 3 cars right here all together. A couple of these are for positions, a couple of these aren't for positions, but still some good battling on this last lap with these drivers. As will they battle? I do not know. It depends on how these drivers want to do it, as the 59 has a huge run on the 43.
Taking a look, watching Truth Hoke here just behind the 43 of Alex Teft. That's not for position, but it just seems like Truth Hoke is trying to build in some kind of insulation between himself and Brandon Honeycutt as they get ready to cross the start-finish line. It looks like Daniel Honeycutt going to have full control of this race, about a quarter of a lap to go. Meanwhile, Brandon Honeycutt still out here battling it out with Truth Hoke, as Brandon Honeycutt looks to try to close in. Hoke going to be held up by Alex Teft in the 43. Daniel Honeycutt, meanwhile, he has been dominant all night long. He's fought his way after falling out of the lead. He's managed to claw his way back up here. The checkered flag is in the air as he makes the final round of turns around that little corkscrew here, or a keyhole as they call it. Rolls back onto the front stretch, the checkered flag waves, and Daniel Honeycutt wins the Racers Elite Xfinity Series right here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Complex. He's followed across the start-finish line by Andrew Teft, Kensley Smith, Sean Dunaway, Dennis Kane, Lee Campbell, Alex Teft, Todd Slauson. Truth Hoke and Brandon Honeycutt not done just yet, as they're about a quarter of a lap away. Honeycutt's going to have one of those thoughts to himself where if he just had another lap or two, he might have had Truth Hoke, as they are still trying to finish it out here coming down into the final turns. Honeycutt running after Hoke, all but throwing the entire kitchen sink and everything else in the house at him, but can't catch him, as the 43 of Alex Teft not able to hold up the 59 of Truth Hoke as they come back onto the front stretch and cross the finish line. And at that point, just nearly at the left rear fender of the 59 was Brandon Honeycutt, but unfortunately too little too late, as Daniel Honeycutt wins here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
A fun race that was here at Mid-Ohio. I've seen this track before. I've watched the Truck Series race here, IRL. One of these tracks are fun. Definitely an interesting race, action-packed, especially at these road courses. Sometimes it's not, but at this end, and close to the end, it was definitely action-packed between the top 3 drivers. As race winner, going to go through the race winners so far. So race winner is going to be Daniel Honeycutt. And do we want to start with Daniel? Daniel, this is Emily and Dave in the booth. Do you have a copy?
I got a copy. What's going on?
A great racing, some ups and downs here tonight, spinning out galore from almost every driver here tonight, not just you, but came back, bounced back, finished first with roughly a almost 5-second gap from second place. What was going through your mind?
Well, I had a really good lead, and then I kind of blew it just spinning out, just being too aggressive. So I just kind of put my head down and try to get off my high horse some and just fight back for it, and battled Kinsley pretty good, and then holding off Andrew and saving enough fuel to make it to the end.
Indeed. Definitely was an interesting race, battling at times. How was the car? I want to ask that. How was the car? Was it tight, loose, on the edge?
The way I was driving it, it was on edge the whole race, just from being so aggressive. You wear out your right rears a lot, and you can kind of tell as the run gets on, you see a lot more spins just from people pushing too hard coming off the corner. But all in all, the car was really fast, really good, and kind of happy with it.
Awesome sauce. Dave, do you have anything for Daniel here?
No, listen, man, it was a long race tonight. I mean, 45 laps at a road course can occasionally feel like an eternity, but you were able to capitalize on that for sure. As we hit the twilight of this race, I thought your poise was incredible. And, it is what it is, but at least you wound up here on the top step of the podium. Before we cut you loose, who do you need to tip your helmet to?
Just my team, as always, for helping me out wherever I need it. Then you guys for putting this thing on. It's a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. So just want to thank everybody for that.
All right, my man. Well, listen, congratulations on the win here, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Next up here on the podium going to be Andrew Teft, driver the number 98. Hey, Andrew, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Hey, Dave.
Man, listen, Hope Valley, Rhode Island, again, has to be proud of you as you come home here in second position. You and Daniel were able to hold off Kensley Smith to keep it from being 3 in a row. How does that feel, in conjunction with the fact that you finished P2 here on the podium?
Hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, Kensley was on a bit of a hot streak there. Yeah, I'm happy with my finish tonight. Better than I thought I would do, honestly. Was able to somehow get better fuel mileage than everybody else. I wasn't downshifting to first anywhere. It sounds like some other people might have been doing that, so I think that might have played into it. But yeah, just good race. Another good points race. Expanded my lead in the championship standings a little bit, so I'm just happy to get out of here unscathed.
Yeah, I mean, here at a road course, they're usually very technical tracks, and I think Mid-Ohio is probably the most technical of the road courses aside from Sonoma. And, to be able to get through here, as you, in your words, unscathed, is a feat in and of itself, especially because this requires a whole new level of discipline and skill as a driver. How much practice time do you put in during the week when you know that it's not, your forte?
Well, I think I just bought the track on Sunday, so yeah, we put up a practice session on Sunday, and a few guys hopped on. I think our quickest time on Sunday was like 1:29, so figured out where we needed to be at least. But yeah, I practiced a little bit Sunday, a little bit before the race. It's just I'm kind of a rhythm driver, so I got to find my shift points, my reference points, and you know, the way our road course races run with the full course yellows off, I can really get into one of those rhythms. And
yeah, it's definitely better than being at a rhythm track that's a short track when everybody is causing cautions every 20 or 25 laps. Here you can really get yourself nice and comfy, put a little music on there in the cockpit and just roll. But so a great race for you tonight as you climbed up 3, you qualified in the top 5 and finish here second step on the podium. Before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank and tip your helmet to tonight?
Yeah, first off, congrats to Dan. Ran a heck of a race. He was in the 128s in practice. I think the rest of us were in the 29s and above, so it's in a whole different level. But yeah, our servicemen and women's SRM for putting on the show. You guys are awesome. My team, Chicken Coop Racing, friends and family for letting me race all the time. And yeah, if anybody wants to check us out, just head on over to racerselite.com. You can find Discord invites, standings, schedules, the whole 9 yards.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, congrats on the P2 finish. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Dave.
And last but certainly not least, Emily, I believe you're with Kensley Smith now.
Kensley Smith, this is Emily and Dave in the booth. Do you have a copy?
How's it going?
Beautiful run here tonight. Led some laps, got some points out here. Bringing it home strong in 3rd place. Beautiful car there tonight.
Thank you. Just tried to keep it clean and keep it on track.
Keeping it on track is definitely something to kind of look into tonight. A lot of cars definitely spun out in one certain area. Any insight on why cars were spinning out in those areas?
It was just real slick. Once you get deeper into the run, you really lose your back tires. So grip goes down a lot. And then plus with the rubber getting put down on the track as it goes along, I think that's what really caused most of the problems was just grip. Grip level was really low.
Yes, indeed. Dave, do you have anything?
I don't. Listen, it's a rough night when you qualify on the front row and then you still finish in 3rd. I mean, you won the last 2 weeks at Las Vegas and Atlanta. I was really curious to see if you were going to be able to make it 3 in a row and get a turkey here as if we were bowling, but unfortunately, Honeycutt and Teff just proved to be a little bit too strong, tonight.
Yeah, they were definitely a lot faster. I'm not one for road courses, so just to get 3rd for me is probably the best case scenario in this situation.
Yeah, when it comes to road courses, it's you and everybody else. As soon as I see it on the schedule, I'm like, oh, here we go. I did 4 nights at Coda last week, and I was exhausted by Wednesday.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely feeling it right now. Probably just gonna hop right up off of here and lay in bed for us tonight. It's pretty tiring doing these road courses.
Absolutely. Well, listen, before we cut you loose and before you get to go lay down in bed and relax, just want to know who you need to tip your cap to and who you need to can't say it, who you need to shout out for this run tonight.
Of course, you guys for putting on the broadcast as always. SRM has really done really good broadcast for us. And then Andrew for putting the league on for us, and my team, Driving Extreme Inc., working really good. Road courses are none of our strong suits, so we all finished, so that was a good goal. And then on top of that, my wife and my daughter.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, congrats on the P3 finish. We'll see you next week. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Well,
All
Emily,
right.
another one in the books here in the Racers Elite Xfinity Series. Me personally, I love watching these Xfinity cars. They're about the closest thing that we have to the last gen Cup car, and at least here on iRacing. So, an exciting night. Daniel Honeycutt brings home the checkered flag. We're going to look one more time here at the final results as Honeycutt is joined on the podium by Andrew Teft and Kensley Smith. Sean Dunaway finishes in fourth, Dennis Kane in fifth, rounding out your top five, while Lee Campbell finishes sixth. Alex Teft brings home seventh position with Todd Slauson in eighth. Truth Hoke and Brandon Honeycutt round out your top 10, Emily.
11 being Brandon Sanfilippo, 12 being Chris Blassie, 13th going to be Sam Rojas, 14th is going to be Matt Metler, 15th is going to be Ronnie Martin, and rounding out your last driver here tonight is going to be Kirby Wayne Scott.
Well, it's always a pleasure to work with you here, and especially on the Racers Elite Xfinity Series. I want to thank everybody out there on the YouTube live chat who tuned in tonight, for making us a part of your evening, welcoming us into your homes and into your phones and everywhere else that you might be catching us. So for myself, Dave Regal, Emily Arias, and everyone here at SRM, thanks for watching, and as you walk down the road of life, please don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.